What would happen if more than 100 missiles were suddenly launched toward one of the most contested cities in the world, in the middle of the night, with millions of civilians sleeping below? That question is now at the center of urgent debate among analysts after Iranian state-linked outlets claimed that a massive missile barrage targeted Israel, and that a strike may have been directed toward the country's political leadership. Israeli officials, however, say many of those claims remain unverified and stress that the situation is still being assessed. Welcome back to the channel. In this report, we're breaking down the latest developments after Iranian sources claimed that more than 100 missiles launched by forces linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps were fired toward Israel during a nighttime escalation. Some Iranian outlets have suggested the attack targeted key Israeli leadership figures, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Israeli authorities have not confirmed those claims, and defense officials say investigations are ongoing. Tonight we'll explain what is known so far, what remains unconfirmed, and why analysts say this moment could represent one of the most dangerous escalations in the region in years. Jerusalem, one of the most politically and religiously significant cities in the world, has long been at the center of tensions in the Middle East. But direct large-scale missile attacks involving Iran and Israel represent a particularly serious development because the two countries have spent years engaged in a shadow conflict that has rarely erupted into open direct strikes. According to statements circulated through Iranian state media and outlets linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the missile launch was described as a retaliatory or strategic operation. Those reports claimed dozens of missiles were fired toward Israeli territory, with some narratives suggesting that more than 100 projectiles were involved. Independent verification of the exact number has not been publicly confirmed. Israeli defense authorities have acknowledged that missile alerts were activated across several areas, though officials have not confirmed the full scale described by Iranian sources. Israel's military routinely issues alerts through its nationwide early warning system whenever rockets or missiles are detected heading toward populated areas. Residents in cities across Israel are familiar with the sound of warning sirens that signal incoming threats. In those moments, families rush to shelters, reinforced rooms, or underground bunkers designed to protect civilians from blasts and debris. For many Israelis, those sirens are among the most chilling sounds imaginable. Parents wake children from sleep, grab phones, and move quickly towards safety as the seconds tick down. Reports circulating on social media and regional news outlets described nighttime skies lit up by interceptor missiles launched by Israel's air defense systems. These systems include the well-known Iron Dome, as well as other layers of missile defense, such as David's Sling and the Arrow system, which are designed to intercept longer-range threats. Defense experts say Israel operates one of the most sophisticated missile defense networks in the world. The systems rely on radar tracking and rapid response interceptors that attempt to destroy incoming projectiles before they reach populated areas. However, even the most advanced defense systems face challenges when dealing with large-scale missile barrages. If dozens or even hundreds of projectiles are launched in a short time frame, defense systems must prioritize which targets pose the greatest risk to civilians and infrastructure. That is why the number of missiles involved in any attack becomes a critical detail. At this stage, analysts say it remains unclear whether the reported number of missiles accurately reflects the scale of the launch, or whether some reports may have exaggerated the figure. In fast-moving situations, early information often changes as more reliable data becomes available. One of the most sensitive claims circulating from Iranian sources is the suggestion that the attack was directed toward Israel's political leadership. Specifically, some outlets claimed the barrage was intended to strike locations associated with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Israeli officials have not confirmed any such strike, and there has been no official statement indicating that the Prime Minister was targeted or harmed. Security protocols surrounding national leaders in Israel are extremely strict, particularly during periods of heightened tension. Government officials are frequently moved between secure locations, and public details about their movements are often limited for security reasons. Because of those precautions, analysts say verifying any claim involving leadership targeting requires confirmation from multiple reliable sources. So far, Israeli authorities have not indicated that Netanyahu was directly struck or injured, and many experts urge caution when interpreting statements issued during an active crisis. The broader context behind this situation stretches back years. Iran and Israel have long viewed each other as strategic rivals, and tensions between the two countries have played out across multiple arenas. These include cyber operations, regional proxy conflicts, intelligence operations, and occasional direct strikes involving military assets in Syria and elsewhere. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, often referred to as the IRGC, is a powerful branch of Iran's armed forces responsible for both domestic security and external operations. Western governments, including the United States, have designated the IRGC as a terrorist organization due to its involvement in regional militant activities. Iranian officials reject that designation and say the organization plays a central role in defending the country. When IRGC-linked outlets make claims about military operations, analysts carefully compare those statements with independent sources, satellite imagery, and official government announcements. In Israel, the immediate focus during any missile attack is protecting civilians. Cities across the country maintain extensive shelter systems because of decades of rocket and missile threats. Schools, apartment buildings, and public facilities often include reinforced rooms designed to withstand blasts. During nighttime alerts, the sudden rush to shelters can be frightening for families, especially young children who may not fully understand what is happening. Residents in Jerusalem and other cities have described how quickly the atmosphere changes when sirens begin sounding. Streets fall silent, lights flicker on inside homes, and people move quickly to safe areas. For emergency responders and medical teams, these moments are critical. Ambulance crews and fire departments remain on standby to respond to any impact sites, while hospitals prepare for possible casualties if missiles or debris strike populated areas. At the same time, military commanders monitor radar screens and communication channels, attempting to determine the scale and direction of incoming threats. For Israel's defense leadership, every second counts during a missile attack. Radar systems must quickly determine whether incoming objects are likely to hit open fields, cities, or strategic infrastructure. Interceptor missiles are expensive and limited, so they are used primarily against threats that could cause major damage. While many missiles can be intercepted in the air, some inevitably fall to the ground, either as debris from interceptions or from missiles that were not targeted. In those cases, emergency services rush to impact sites to assess damage and assist anyone affected. Meanwhile, in Iran, officials have presented the launch as a demonstration of military capability and resolve. Iranian leaders have often emphasized the country's missile program as a central element of its defense strategy. Tehran argues that its missile forces are necessary to deter potential adversaries. However, many international observers worry that escalating missile exchanges between regional powers could dramatically increase the risk of wider conflict. The Middle East has already experienced multiple conflicts involving rockets and missile strikes over the past decades, but a direct confrontation between Iran and Israel would represent a major escalation. The United States and several European governments have repeatedly urged restraint during periods of rising tension in the region. Washington maintains strong security ties with Israel, including cooperation on missile defense systems and intelligence sharing. If tensions escalate further, diplomatic efforts from global powers could play an important role in attempting to prevent a broader war. Military analysts say the coming hours and days will be critical in determining how the situation develops. Israeli officials will likely continue reviewing radar data, impact reports, and satellite information to determine the precise scale of the missile barrage. Meanwhile, international observers will be watching closely for signs of retaliation, diplomatic communication, or de-escalation. For civilians living in the region, the stakes are deeply personal. Families on both sides of the conflict often find themselves caught between geopolitical tensions and daily life. Nighttime missile alerts, shelter runs, and uncertainty about what might happen next create an atmosphere of anxiety that can linger long after the sirens stop. Children who grow up in areas affected by repeated conflict often become familiar with emergency procedures at an early age. Teachers, parents, and community leaders work constantly to balance safety preparations with efforts to maintain normal routines. As this situation continues to unfold, many questions remain unanswered. Were more than 100 missiles actually launched, or was the number smaller? Were specific leadership locations targeted, or were the missiles aimed more broadly at military or strategic sites? And perhaps most importantly, how will Israel respond? Those answers may emerge gradually as governments release more verified information. For now, what is clear is that the region has experienced another moment of intense tension involving missile strikes, defensive interceptions, and competing claims from both sides. The coming hours will likely bring additional statements from Israeli officials, Iranian authorities, and international leaders monitoring the situation. As always in moments like this, separating confirmed facts from early claims is essential. Tonight's developments highlight just how quickly events in the Middle East can escalate and why analysts across the world are watching closely. We'll continue following the story as more verified information becomes available and bring you updates as officials clarify what happened and what it could mean for the region. For now, the key point is that reports of a large missile barrage and claims involving Israel's leadership remain under review, and authorities are still working to confirm the full details of what occurred. If you want to stay informed as this situation develops, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for continuing coverage of major global security stories. And we'd like to hear your perspective as well. Share your thoughts in the comments about what you think the next steps might be as leaders respond to this latest escalation.